lunch is chicken stir fry. And during all of lunch, Justice League is meeting. During first lunch, there's a Glee Club meeting. And during second lunch, there's a dance club meeting and a book club meeting. Today I have a fun fact news flash. This week is Computer Science Education Week. It is an annual program dedicated to inspiring students to take interest in computer science. According to the National Girls Collaborative Project, only 4.9% of girls pursuing a higher education earn a bachelor's degree in computer science. A reminder for freshmen to please bring in your mugs by Friday. Also, the Community Service Board has posted your hours outside the study hall. Please make sure you check those. Please make sure you check those, and if there's any problems, email Mrs. Hopkins. On the topic of community service, there are still a lot of labels left on the giving tree in the gallery. It is really important that all tags are picked, because if they're not, that means this kid will not be getting a present for the holiday season. So if you haven't picked a tag yet and you're interested, please do so. All donations are due in the boxes here on the stage by Friday. They must be in by noon on Friday, because that's when the Family Help Center will be coming to pick those up. And now we have a presentation to celebrate the hour of coding.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you all for being so flexible this morning. Our guests were kind of stuck in some snow coming from Syracuse, but they're here, and as you can see, our guest of honor is sitting down patiently waiting to talk to you guys. Last year for the Hour of Code, we all had broken into advisory groups and gone back to our advisory groups and did some coding. This year we won't be able to do that because of, as you all know, our internet right now is not what it should be. But instead, hopefully, we're going to have a wonderful presentation this morning. And for any of you, I hope all of you, who are interested in doing a little bit of coding on your own, on Edline is posted a link to some great new games. If you haven't done them at all, then they'll all be new. But for those girls who did this last year, there's some new ones posted. So please go to Edline when you have some time, either at home or if the internet's cooperating at school, and work on some of the games and programs that are there. And then if you do, please stop me in the hallways or send me an email. I'd love to hear what you've done, and we can talk more about it. So without any further ado, I'm going to present Chris Rederow and Terry Cahill from TEQ, which is a company that distributes the NAO Robot, which is what this guy is. And they're going to talk to us a little bit about him, and we're going to see how interested you guys are in this, and if there's any chance that perhaps we can put some kind of a robotics program together here at Sound. So this is good
morning. Good morning. How's everybody doing today? So hopefully you guys will be very happy to meet my friend. His name is Rusty. Rusty is a fully programmable humanoid robot. Has anybody programmed anything before? Right? Code week, right? So we're all starting to dabble with code and understand what code is. It's basically a language, right? So it's one more way that we can communicate. And as robots come online more and more into our lives, we need to learn how to communicate with them so that they can become our friends. So in just a minute, I'm going to let Rusty tell you a little bit about himself. While he does that, I want you to pick up on some things, some subtleties, some nuances that he does that maybe other robots that you've been around don't necessarily do. And we're going to talk a little bit about how that's possible. And when you start to think about programming, programmatic literacy, computational thought, this happens, then this happens, then this happens, based on logic or sequence, I want you to start to think about the human element and the way that we will interact differently with this robot than we would with a machine-type robot. So it's in human form. Oh, I'm running a little bit long. I apologize, Rusty. So with this cue, I'm just going to dive into a little bit about the importance. Can anybody throw out a number of how many robotics companies a little company called Google has purchased in the last year or two?
30 million.
1 million.
I will tell you one thing about their, I think I lost my mic. I will tell you one thing about their acquisitions. They're very picky in the companies that they pick and the types of businesses that they go into. They've actually purchased 6 robotics companies in the last 2 years, which is actually quite a bit, okay? So there are a lot of things coming online. So when you hear politicians and administrators and folks and parents talking about college and career ready, I think my battery's dead. And what does that really mean? Can you guys hear me okay?
Yeah.
Okay. I didn't charge this before the trip. One of the things that we have to think about is how many jobs will there be, bless you, in robotics and in programming. And what does that really mean for your future? It's not a matter of, oh, it's the latest thing, I need to learn how to use a mouse in school in 2nd grade 20 years ago, or learn how to type on a keyboard, right? Those things are a little bit less important. We have touch devices now. We can actually just have a virtual keyboard. Maybe eventually we won't even need keyboards if we can do everything with gesture or voice to text, right? We're going to see a little bit of voice to text here. What if the computer were totally morphed in your mind into a humanoid robot that was your companion, was your friend? What are our companions right now? Don't go anywhere without it. Love it. If I lose it, I freak out, right? So start to think about 10, 20 years from now. Start to think about the jobs that will be available, right? And are we going to outsource those jobs, or are we going to figure out a way to get it done here? So just some facts about what's going on in the world today, some staggering numbers. Some folks like Steve Jobs thinks it's pretty important that we figure out coding and robotics. Nothing about me, right? That's what I want to say. Are you ready to do your thing? Presentation. So just like with any computer, I can launch a program and I can stop it from running. So I communicated with Rusty and he didn't quite hear me correctly. So I'm just going to run it again. I think I confused him. I'll take this opportunity to pop out and actually show you the interface so I can kind of see what's going on. This is called Choreograph software. So again, he wants to run something. I don't know what he's trying to run here. So you can see that I've got a workspace here. I'm connected to Rusty. This is an avatar, so we can actually see if we're not connected to the robot, we can act out the things that we program. Here's his line of sight. Down here to the lower left are his behaviors. So these are all the things that are programmed in his brain. So you guys can build programs on your computer and then upload them to Rusty's brain. We can wave to Rusty's brain. And right up top we have a behavior library as well. And this is where we would drag out some boxes, code boxes, and we'll get into that in a second. Presentation.
Presentation. I have a lot to say. Let's talk about me.
So I'll try and mic them up so you guys can hear. I just turned the volume up a little as well.
My name is NAO. I'm a humanoid robot imagined and manufactured by NAO Robotics. I come with the software and I'm fully programmable. I'm autonomous and I can connect to the internet through Wi-Fi. I can recognize your face, answer your questions, play music, grab objects, and even play soccer like a pro. where I should not. The 4 microphones around my head allow me to detect the origin of sounds nearby. Well, I think about it. There are 4 force-sensitive resistors under each of my feet. Combined with my inertial sensor, they help me keep my balance. I can use some legs to express various emotions and interact with you. Sensors on the head, for example, to pass me some information. Well, I guess that's enough for the moment. Thank you for listening to me.
So, Rusty talked about a handful of sensors. Can you guys kind of just throw out a couple things that you heard? Sonar on his chest. So you can see the sonar here. We've got send and receive on both sides. There's actually 4 there, so you can actually sense depth if you program him to. And that's always going to be the end of my sentence, if you program him to. So I cannot talk to him right now. He's not listening to me. I need to tell him to listen, right? So the way that you ask Rusty to listen is up to you and up to how you program. The way that you ask him to search for a depth in a room or for an object is up to you. So there's a handful of ways that we can use the sonar. What else did we hear? Microphones. And those are important, right? So we've got 4 microphones that actually go around his head. So he can actually start to kind of get a sense of the real world. And when I'm behind him, he kind of turns to listen, and he can sort of kind of orient himself. Much like we would in a room. If someone were talking to us behind us, we wouldn't just stare forward like a dumb robot. He would be a smart robot. We would say, "What'd you say?" Right? What else did we hear? Yes, sensors in his feet. In tandem with choreograph software, I'm also running something called Monitor, which it shut off while I was talking to you guys. So I'm just going to launch it again. And this is actually a good way for you guys to see how we connect. So he said through Wi-Fi he connects, right? So there's no cables connected. He's actually connected to a little airport that I have under the table. Here's his IP address, Rusty Local 59 blah blah blah. So I'm going to tell my computer I want to connect to him. Right? So I'll connect. And I'm going to start to pull some data from Rusty's memory. Ask for a new file. This is kind of boring for you guys, but just bear with me. I'm just going to select some things, right? Actually, we said foot, so I'm going to ask for the foot. Here are all my foot options. I want data from these options. So I can say my virtual contact, left foot contact, right. I'll just click some randomly and say OK. I don't want to store it, I just want to see it. So I'll cancel that. And now we start to generate data. It's flatlined right now because he's not doing anything. Let's try to get the cameraman's attention. So if I actually adjust Rusty, we can see the data spike, right? I pull him off that foot, I pull him off this foot, and we can see that we're getting... Am I tickling here? So we have feet sensors, right? So he can actually sense weight on feet. He's got 4 on each side. What else did we hear? Camera, right? So you can see. Not just 1, but 2. Why is 2 important when he's looking at a human? Facial recognition, right? We want to be able to see the eyes, right? And recognize a face. So you can actually store people's faces with Rusty, and then he can recognize you, tell you your favorite joke, and interact with you in a personal and real way, if you program him to. Okay? So if I got in front of him right now, he's not looking for me, he doesn't see me, he doesn't recognize me, right? But it's just as easy as putting something, whether it's a face or an object, so you hear facial recognition, you hear object recognition, so we can just as easily use an object, whether it's 3D or on paper, and have him look for things and recognize things, and then do something after he sees it, if you program him to. Okay? things that, right out of the box, you guys would want to do with Rusty? You'd want to play soccer, okay? Do you think you could program him to play soccer? Says he's a pro, right? So he's got all the skills. We would have to help him understand how to orient himself within the field, right? So are there markings on the field that he could look for and know where he's at? What does the goal look like? Great example, because if you do a Google search for RoboCup, Rusty has actually won, I think, 2 or 3 of the last few years as the robot of choice in the world, bless you, to play the RoboCup game, meaning he can be trained or programmed enough with autonomy to be able to operate with his teammates and play a game of soccer without any human control. Pretty cool. Any other ideas right out of the box what you would want to try? If you could program him to do your homework, I don't think homework would be any problem. Right? Can he write? If you program him to, he can. He can hold a pencil. Right? He can recognize things on paper if you program him to. Right? You would have to do some pretty complex programming and logic to get him to understand problem solving, but you could do some things. Any others before we move on? What is it? A cheery little chat. A cheery little chat. Very good. So one of the things when we talk about college and career readiness that a lot of folks are talking about is elderly care, companionship. So if we want to have a cheery little chat with grandma, can we help program that robot to be personal with grandma? To help her with her medication at certain times. Rusty's connected to the internet. He knows the weather. He knows jokes. Some are good, some are bad. He knows when the movies are playing. There's actually a movie database app that we can run, and he'll tell you what movies are playing when. So there are a lot of things that we can start to do around have a cheery chat, right? Just through some basic programming. Some of the other things I'll just run through real quick. Tactile touch. So if I touch his hand, he knows I'm touching his hand. We can use that, strong. We can use that for programming as well. Just like I said before, if you want to launch a program, you can simply have, instead of a double tap on his front sensor here, like I've been doing to pass him verbal cues, I could have a double tap on the hand. It's up to the person that's programming. Does that make sense? Same thing with the foot bumpers. So he has bumpers on the feet, tactiles on the hands, and then he has 3 tactile touch on the top. 1, 2, 3. I can turn volume up and down. I could actually have him sit down so you can... Stop that. We can actually have him program through gestures as well, right? So in the essence of time, I'm going to do some really fun things. One of the things that I was hoping one of you guys would say, and somebody was thinking of but was too shy to shout it out, was teaching to dance. So one of the things that we're leveraging humanoid robots for is project-based learning. Does anybody know what that is? For the sake of time, I'll tell you guys. It's basically giving you a project, asking you a big question, putting you in a small group and having you guys go figure out how to either answer the question or do the project. And through that process, you learn a bunch of really cool stuff. You guys lead the process on your own. It's kind of self-directed, teacher facilitated, so the teacher will help you through the process. But if I give you this robot and I tell you that I want you to choreograph, program a 3-minute dance routine, right? We could have like an American dance-off competition. Who thinks they would have the best group? Right? But I want you to think about who's going to make up those groups. We need Geek Squad, right? We need somebody working on the code, figuring things out, right, on the technical side. We need a couple choreographed people that are going to figure out the dance move and actually sketch them out on a storyboard. And then we need a couple people to actually put it all together, be project managers, make it all work, and help the team jive, communicate. A final project can be pretty outstanding. I would love to see, if I come back a year or 2 from now, what you guys can do and who the winner of that competition would be. I'm just going to give you an example of what it might look like. Confused. some different music. So we can see some of that. 2 more minutes. So I'm just going to wrap up. Before I do that, I just want to show you a couple of really quick things so that you can grasp the programming side of it, which is really what's behind all this. Without the choreograph, without the Python code, none of what we just saw would be possible, and there would be no excitement for anything. So this box library is basically boxes of code that were pre-created, and they're in the library. And if I drag them out, it's a say box. So if I want Rusty to say something, I drag out a say box, okay? And then if I go inside that say box, I can shape the voice, so he doesn't always have to sound that way. We can make him sound a little bit more human. Or I can actually go into the box itself and tell him what I want him to say just by typing it here. Does that make sense? Go back to my root. And then after he says hello, I want him to also wave. So I'll go to my animations, and I'll pull out my wave. Okay? If I double tap on the wave, I can see that I have a timeline. So there are a number of ways that we can program Rusty. Whether I drag out somebody else's code, I write my own code. So if I actually go inside of this box, I can see the Python. So now we can start to reverse engineer. So I can see how somebody that knows what they're doing is doing it, and maybe say, well, what if I slightly augment that or change that and make it my own box, right? So we can start to do that, so we don't have to start from scratch, but we can also start from scratch if we want to. So if I close that down, I go back to the timeline. I don't know if any of you guys have ever done claymation or heard of Gumby. I'm somewhat dating myself, I'm sure. But basically, timeline is just like claymation or Gumby. So if we take a clay figure and we move his arm up, and we take a picture with the camera and we move it a little bit more, we take another picture and a little bit more, take another picture, right? We can start to create a movie as we flash through all those images and help wave. Same thing with timeline. So if I actually go back to my root here, out of my starting box, I'm going to fire my say. Simultaneously, because I want them to happen at the same time, I'm going to hit my hello. So I want him to say it while he's waving, so I put them in tandem. And before I run that program, I'm going to go down here and stop this behavior from running. So right now he's running Now's Life. It's a program that gives him his human-like interaction. So I'll stop that, okay? And now I'm going to run my program, just by hitting play.
Hello.
Okay? Pretty basic, right? Now if I want to actually go back into that timeline, these are space-time continuum, right? Einstein's theory of relativity, right? So as we go through time, it's actually physical space. If I click on one of these bars, 20 seconds in, 35 seconds in, that's where he's at in his wave, 40 seconds in, a little bit further, right? Now I can say, that's not far enough. He didn't almost fall over. I want to push him to the edge without him falling over. So I'm going to tweak that. So I can actually go into that joint, and by degrees tweak it exactly the way I want it and store it. So we can program based on physicality, we can program based on time, we can program based on code. If I want to actually loosen this joint, all I do is right click on my timeline and say, where did I put it? Search on the keyframe. I can actually, I won't do it now, but I can actually loosen that joint and physically move it and store it. Okay? So there's a number of ways that we can program Rusty. He's a fantastic platform to unleash your creativity. So I hope you guys enjoyed learning a little bit more about Rusty. I appreciate all of your time. Are there any quick questions? I'm already over. Anything real quick? Yes?
If someone could buy one, how much would they cost?
So that's a great question. They range in price, just like anything. But just the robot by himself is about $8,000. Any other questions? Yes?
You have to make that website for your phone. Like, did you make this whole thing?
Great question. So there's actually an app store where we can actually grab apps and download the programs. So I didn't create the dance moves. They were created by a programmer, and then they were downloaded from the NAO App Store. But one of the things that we can see coming in the future is I want to learn Spanish. I don't want to take Rosetta Stone. I want Rusty to teach me. If he's connected to the internet, can I go to the App Store and say, hey, Rusty, teach me Spanish? And he'll go, let me check. I've got 3 apps that could teach you Spanish. How much do you want to spend? Do you want to try them out? And then I can go back and forth with him, and he can actually teach me Spanish through the App Store. One more, real quick. Yes?
What app are you using on there?
This program is called Choreograph. Choreograph is a software from Aldebert, and the company that makes NAO. It's a French company. And it's built basically to allow you to fully program the robot. Excuse me, and the code that you actually saw was Python language. I think I'm out of time. Thank you so much.